Star Wars Young Jedi Knights Trouble on Cloud City, Chapter 15. Jason fell for the second time that day, but this time he landed in a soft, squishy mat of tangled algae clusters. It was like a damp, organic mattress that floated aimlessly, carried by the winds. The bumpy green masses made soft, uneven surface like a cluster of lighter-than-air pillows. Watching him, McKim lay back, laughing as Jason stumbled and fell on his face into the wet algae nodules. The greenish clusters drifted like a living mass of solid bubbles. One greenish-brown bubble popped with a splat in front of him, spraying Jason with the soft, earthy smell of compost. He struggled to wipe away the sticky juice, but finally lounged back and forced himself to relax. He could change his clothes later, and he desperately needed a rest. Root-like tendrils dangled from the bottom of the algae island to soak up moisture droplets and nourishing chemicals. Jason listened to the breeze rustling the tendrils. He heard the little fluttering noises of small, living creatures darting in and around the tangled organic mat. He spotted the tiny insects and colored plant-like things that made up the island's complex, forming an entire ecosystem. I'm surprised there's so much life around here, Jason said. I thought Bespin was just, well, an empty gas giant. Nothing in the universe is truly empty, McKim said. Our troop has traveled all over, and I've found very few places that are truly dead. Life is very tenacious. Yeah, I'm sure I didn't expect to still be alive after that fall. Bestman had many different levels where life clung, whether artificial cities, gas storage refineries, or temperate layer algae islands, thunderheads gathered in the vast sky overhead. Jason crawled to the edge of the squishy algae platform and looked over the edge of the soup toward the soup of clouds below. He saw flashes of lightning and deep glows that skittered beneath the surface. Large storms rose up like great heat currents, and the lower layers of the gas giant stirred and shifted. It still looked impossibly far down. Jason gulped. If McKim hadn't rescued him on his Thrantha, he would still be falling. Free of its rider, the Thrantha swooped above and below them, circling the algae island, nibbling at the tender ends of the dangling root threads and playing in the sky. Watching the exuberant creature, McKim laughed. Jason turned to the Thrantha rider. What do you mean when you said that other people were ambushed and fell off Cloud City? Someone we know recently vanished off a balcony. The official report said that he jumped down to his death. He shuddered, thinking of Kojan and the long tear he must have endured down to his drop through the clouds. McKim looked nervous and sad. When was this? When did it happen? Jason counted back. It could have been 6 standard days ago, I guess. McKim nodded, pursing his lips. 12 Bespin days. Yes, that's what I thought. You know something about it? Jason jerked and tried to sit upright too quickly. The algae nodule shifted under him, but he had to squirm to regain his balance. Please tell us. McKim looked away. His Thrantha swooped overhead again and giving a near-silent, high-pitched call. I saw it with my own eyes, the Thrantha rider admitted. Jason scrambled closer to the thin, painted boy. What happened to Kojan? We need to know. The Thrantha rider stared off into the distant sky as the sunlight filtering through layers of mist stapled the tattoos on his face and skin. McKim said, I can tell you this much. Your friend didn't jump of his own free will. What happened to Kohan? Jason pressed again. We were out practicing, flying around the other side of Cloud City. We'd gone to the top to do loops around Keros Tower. I was behind the rest of the group because I'm not part of the actual act yet. Even though I practiced with the team, I saw a man on one of the outer balconies, but he wasn't alone. Who? Who was with him? Jason said. One big angry man who looked like he was in charge and a couple of thugs. I was surprised that the 2 thugs didn't do the dirty work for the angry man. What did the man look like? Pretty strange. He had some sort of visor across his face, a red optical sensor, and short green hair the color of algae you're sitting on. He was quite unmistakable. Jason swallowed hard as he recognized the description. Zethros. But the former bounty hunter and smuggler who once promised to take revenge against Han Solo was now a respectable businessman on Ord Mantell. Or was he? Wasn't he? I know who you're talking about, Jason said. What would Zethros be doing in Cloud City? That man shows up every once in a while, McKim said. Things go on in Port Town and some other casinos that the Cloud City Gambling Authority intentionally ignores. I've heard rumors that a powerful criminal organization is trying to take over the gambling, entertainment, music, everything that happens on Bespin, and probably other planets as well. Nobody pays attention to us Distantha riders, but we see things. Jason thought of the sky rodeo performers darting past windows, looking in. Nobody would think to watch for a spy outside of the city in the clouds. That man with the green hair, Zethlos, was it? He comes here supposedly on legitimate business. He meets with some of the important exec. McKim shook his head. But something strange is going on. What happened to Kojan on the balcony? Was he pushed? They were having an argument, McKim said. The man with the green hair seemed very sure of himself, but when Kojan didn't agree, the two thugs came forward to threaten him. Zethros waved them away. He just picked your friend up by the collar, yelled something at him, and tossed him off the balcony. Just threw him over like a piece of garbage. The man fell, sickened. Jason imagined Lando's friend reaching out for help and dropping. You couldn't help him? You couldn't catch him like you caught me? McKim shook his head. Tears glistened in his eyes. We were pretty high above Cloud City. I swooped down, but the winds were too strong. Thunderclouds were rising. The sky was so dark, the man just vanished into the black clouds. We couldn't find him. Jason drew a deep breath. Why didn't you report this? We don't know who we can trust. McKim shook his head vigorously. Do you know how easy it would be for someone to sabotage one of our harnesses or drug one of the Thrantas before a show? We've already received warnings and threats, nothing specific, but enough to make us worried. He drew a deep breath. Cloud City has a reputation as a clean place. If you gamble here, you know everything's fair. But someone's trying to change that. We do our sky rodeo. Our performances are well attended. We've always been paid well. We risk our lives, but now... He cleared his throat. Other factors are making life uncomfortable. Jason felt decidedly uneasy. I need to get back to Cloud City, he said. I have to tell my friends. McKim hung his head. I know. We can go now. My people will be worried about me too, I suppose. He placed his long fingers and lips and drew a loud, shrill whistle, startling Jason. Instantly, the Thrantha flapped up above the edge of the island, hovered over his head, and bobbed about playfully. Climb up, McKim said as the Thrantha dipped one of its broad, sturdy wings. Jason scrambled up onto the smooth back. The Thrantha rider leapt into place, grabbed the harness with one hand, and snapped it lightly as he set the creature into motion. As they flapped away from the algae island, Jason looked down to watch the matted mass disappear in the mists below. The Thrantha swept its wings gratefully in broad, powerful strokes that carried them higher and higher into the sky. Thick clouds had gathered, knotted conglomerations of mist and gas, turning the sky dark. Jason couldn't tell in which direction Cloud City lay, but he hoped he would get back before the storm. Hey, how do you know where we're going? He said close to McKim's ear. The Thrantha rider shrugged. We know. The Thrantha flew onward and upward as a thunderhead nearly the size of an asteroid rose in front of them. The Thrantha circled down, keeping a good distance between them and the storm cloud. Lightning crackled inside the huge cloud like tiny explosions. Jason spotted several black shapes circling the outer surface of the great storm. McKim seemed more uneasy now, and the Thrantha gave the thunderhead an even wider berth. Are those more Thranthas? Jason said, pointing to other large creatures that seemed to be drawn by discharges from the storm. No, we have to stay clear, McKim said. Those are Vecklers. Jason watched with a mixture of dread and fascination. He heard of the sleek, fast-flying predators on Bespin that could swoop in and rip apart their prey with rows upon rows of jagged teeth. If those Vecklers see our Thrantha, McKim said, we're done for. Why are they so close to the storm? Jason said. Isn't it dangerous for them? Vecklers are always attracted by storms. I think the lightning discharges them some kind of energy. With a nervous chuckle, McKim shrugged again. All I know is I don't want to get close enough to one to find out. Although Jason would have loved to see such a spectacular creature up close, he realized it would be foolish. He had already come too near to death for one day. They climbed higher and swept past the thunderhead. The Vecklers didn't notice them, and Jason could sense McKim relaxing. Jason patted the side of the Thrantha. Good work, he whispered, though he had really no idea if the creature could hear him. Finally, he spotted the gleaming metropolis of Cloud City up ahead. Lights spangled the sides of the hemispherical dome. The Thrantha drove toward it, and Jason drew a deep breath. He couldn't remember even seeing such a beautiful sight in his life. He survived his ordeal, and fervently hoped that Lowen Tenelka had survived theirs as well.